Hello, welcome back to the Sprouted Dreams YouTube. This week I thought we would talk about mushrooms. You can buy purchased mushrooms, or you can make your own mushrooms out of Sculpey clay, or you can even make them out of little polyester pieces of paper. And if you use these with a bit of clay and a nice pick like this, you can even use these outside. And that is a really nice addition to your fairy garden. Most of the mushrooms that I like to use are on these picks. Now you can use obviously just like a toothpick, but something that goes into the bottom of the mushroom that gives it stability is what's really going to help. Now I like to glue the pick into the mushroom base with some epoxy glue, a 2-part epoxy, because this is going to work within this wrapped wire pick that I like to use because it will work in your gardens for a long period of time. It has a wire inside so you can kind of bend it. It's very stiff, but it has this plastic coating that will help it to make it through all of the mud or weather or snow. All of these items you want to make last through snow or weather or rain. And so they take a bit of work on the front end as well as maintenance. So let's go over some of the ways that you can add mushrooms to your fairy garden. Perhaps you purchased a mushroom like this one and it's just got a flat base, and it, like this one, I thought was a bit dull. I sell these in my shop, but I thought that they were boring. So I added all kinds of different paints to them with this gold and gold on the inside. And then these should be fairly stable on your soil, just like this. Now, if you add paint to something that you have purchased, be sure that you coat it with a clear matte spray paint, because again, when this hits the elements or even sprinklers or just care of your fairy gardens, they're going to fade. So you want to absolutely keep up a maintenance program of adding the clear matte spray paint, as well as cleaning it off and making sure that the paint is all well and stable. Do that maybe twice a year. All right, another option is perhaps you make some little mushrooms. Sorry, my husband came in, but these can be added to a flat stone like this. And again, you can add an epoxy to make the mushrooms stick onto a stone, as well as with some artificial greenery or some moss like I did here. And this gives a much more stable structure than to something like this, because these just don't have the weight that a stone has. Again, little small things are great to add to your fairy gardens, but they can get knocked over, even with a cat or a dog going through. So if you make a small, see if I can get this up here really good, Sculpey or polymer clay type of mushroom like this one, be sure that you drill that hole in the bottom. And let me show you, some of the drill bits that I use are very, very small. I use these on a regular basis. I really don't know. Just go get the tiniest one you can get. And then if that doesn't work, you can go up one more size. So I use these two quite a bit. And then sometimes I will use all the way up to this size, which compared to these, it looks huge, but this is a very small drill bit as well. I don't know the sizes of these. This looks like it might be 2 or 3 millimeters across, and this one is probably, gosh, maybe a little more than 1 millimeter. And this one might be like 2 millimeters. So very tiny, tiny drill bits. And you can drill into, this one probably was done with my smallest one. And so what you can do is start with your smallest one if you're afraid of cracking. And then you can go in with a larger one once you've done the small drill bit, if you are afraid that perhaps your wire won't fit through. This wire is from Artificial Greenery, and I take all the greenery off. and then I just cut this down to size. So then it fits nicely into that hole, nice and snug, and that with the extra epoxy makes it last. Of course, if you wanted to just put a toothpick in there and leave it, it's going to give the stability, but it's not going to stay obviously attached. So a little bit better than not having it, but not as stable as actually gluing your piece in. And again, do this with wood or ceramic, or glue them onto a stone. So I hope that helps you to make some beautiful mushrooms to put into your fairy garden this week. One more thing I want to show you. If you are making your own mushrooms, a lot of people think that they can make the hole for the pick prior to baking, and you can. However, you do need to have a drill as well, because sometimes that hole will not be the right size and you'll need to drill through. But also it can cause cracking within the structure, especially if this is the base, let's say for a larger mushroom, something taller like this one that I showed. If it's going to be very big and tall and you push this piece through like this and then remove it, don't leave your wire in. This plastic will melt in the oven when you bake your polymer clay, or if you're using a salt dough or anything like that. So that won't work. So keep that in mind, that you may just want to drill later, or if you press it through, you may need to drill again, because it does kind of shift a little bit and change as it bakes. Also, if you have a base like this, don't forget to add little sort of bits around the edges on the bottom, as well as the gills of the mushroom on the top. So add these little things along the bottom, and you can add color then later. Or, of course, what's nice about making your own is you can do them in any color that you like, or you can paint them afterward. Either which way. If you paint, remember to get your clear matte spray paint on top, but make a ball like this. And then what's nice to do is actually cut this in half, or maybe a little bit uneven, like 1/3 to 2/3 like this. And then you can make a spot for your base to fit on. I probably didn't make that large enough, but you could always add more shape to your mushroom like this, make it a little taller. Then you have a different shape to your mushroom, or you can cut the bottom if that's too tall, and then redo your little growth patterns. And you can also add color in there and then twist your tops, so you end up with patterns in there. I have a top over here. Hopefully you can see like this. So you can add those, but when you go to add these, you can't just set this on, because what will happen is in use, this mushroom top will pop off. So you absolutely must not only get this to fit in there well, do your gills in there like this. You don't want to have a mushroom without gills on the bottom. So give it some gills like this. Cut out a part for your top, but then add some liquid polymer clay. If you do not, I about guarantee that mushroom is not going to last. They like to break on these dissimilar surfaces, and this is going to go outside in your garden. So make sure when you create your handmade mushrooms, you make them to be stable as well as beautiful. And don't forget that with polymer clay, you can also add some mica powders to give it some sparkle, or paint, or whatever you'd like, and make your mushrooms really spectacular. I have some nice mushrooms that I really like. I call them my treasured mushrooms, and they have the nice gills and a bit of wine-colored paint, and then the black dots on there. These really make a nice mushroom, and they look completely natural when you put them into the soil. So think about the colors balancing, or if you want to do kind of a swirly design like this, you can just turn your polymer clay into that, and that's really fun as well. So I just wanted to give you those extra tips so that your mushrooms come out just right.